Hello everybody and welcome back to APPF1 Tier 2. The day has arrived. It is Baku Day here in Tier 2 and I have with me the man who has the most glorious Baku record of anyone in APPF1 history. It is Lawrence. How are you doing, my friend? Are you looking forward to this?
Oh, thank you for your very kind words. Yes, good evening, everybody. I am well, thank you, Ghost. If anybody ever wants tips on how to mess things up in Baku, I am your man.
Turn 3, castle section. We could name all the locations where things could go wrong. It's gone wrong for Lawrence at at any of those locations. So we'll see who it goes wrong for today. Of course, most of the grid will be hoping it goes wrong for this man, well, the man who's not out on track yet, but the championship leader, S13, in the Mercedes, because he has won 3 out of the first 4 races so far this season, and he'll be looking to make it 4 in 5 today. But if there's any track where things are going to go wrong for him, it's going to be Baku, you have to think.
Yes, Baku is very unforgiving. I know all too well, just a clip of the barrier and that's it, it's game over. But yes, as you said, Exterek is the one everybody is kind of wanting just to have a little slip up here. He's currently on 79 points in the championship with a huge 26-point lead, so he is due, he can afford the DNF really.
Yes, indeed. And, well, even if he does DNF and Robsu wins this race, he would still hold a lead, but it would be much, much smaller, and it would cut his momentum, which I think is the biggest thing at the moment. He is the only driver who's keeping things consistent so far this season, and it's showed. He's not won any of those 3 races that he's won by a wide margin. He's just been the most consistent driver. Everyone else has binned it or made a mistake around him, and he's just cruised to victory in the end. So we'll see if that happens again today. Jakalako is, however, someone who I can say does have an excellent record in Baku, not with a sarcastic voice, as he comes through turn 1, or very deep though at turn 1, and then down towards turn 2, brake at about where that wall juts out on the right hand side, down the gears and down towards the infamous turn 3. Lawrence, I'll let you run us through the rest of the lap.
Yes, down to turn 3, make sure you hit your braking marker point. He's been a bit, almost clips the inside barrier there. I'm quite sure he's done well there. Once again, just running a little deep there on the into turn 4, up to turn 5 and 6. Try and hug this inside barrier as tight as you can to open up turn 6, and then down to turn 7, and after turn 7 into the castle section. Turns 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 come at you very quickly. There's 20 turns on this track, so here comes a handful of them right now, and for a first lap, he's done quite well to get through there and look quite competitive. Now we go to turns 13, 14 and 15, jumps up on you, pick your braking point, which is on that curve on the right there. Try not to clip the wall, which is avoided. And down to turn number 16. He's just, he's taken that well. Now you go through to turn 17, 18, 19, and the last kink is 20. The DRS is just around the bend ahead. Try and keep the car as straight as possible now, and try and keep it to the left. His battery, and this will be a 1 minute 40.4.
Not a bad opener from Jacko, although there were some mistakes that we picked up on there. Tricky Budayak quite a way down. Jonathan does a 39.5, but hits the back of Triku just ahead of him, and Triku gets a 5-place grid penalty. So I'm not quite sure exactly how that happened, but Sumo goes up to P3 with Primeval slotting in 5th place behind the Aston Martin of Triku. Cavalis, who desperately needs a good race, he is up to P4 as Enchiladad goes up onto the front row. Who else is coming across the line? That's JB way down for the Ferrari as it stands stands, and
Extrac is
Krauser
next.
beats him. Huge time from Krauser as he beats his teammate for now. Extrac, like you say, is the next across the line. What's it going to be for the championship leader? A 39.7. He is a tenth and a half down on the Red Bull of Jonathan. So we'll see if he can challenge. He's still yet to get a pole position as the defending champion in Tier 2, which is quite an astonishing stat. Anton on the medium tyres for some reason comes across with a 141.2. It's quite competitive, so maybe Anton could be a threat today. We've got Robsu on the track as well as I think that was Tier coming across the line for P8 in the meantime, as the two Saubers look to invigorate their title challenge for the constructors, having missed out by just 1 point last season. Robsu, though, coming through, he's not used a lot of ERS on this lap. So he clips the wall through turn 15 and down towards 16. Does he have all his front wing? He does indeed. So no damage done for the Finn. And now all the way down to the line. Is he going to use that overtake button? Or is he going to wait until he's on the straight? There we go. Use that overtake button a little too early, maybe, because he clips the wall. But down towards the line he goes. Uses all of his ERS early. So I think possibly a little mistake there. I was saying he wasn't using a lot of ERS, but perhaps he was using too much as he comes across the line for P10 of 41.3. Quite a way down.
We've seen a few times this season, Robsu can be a little further down in qualifying, but it's the race where he really comes to life. Like Extrac, he's been consistent in most of the races this year. He can avoid trouble quite nicely. Ench has left the session. Yeah, Robsu is one for the race consistency. He might not be up there in qualifying pace, but come the race, he's good at avoiding any incidents, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him near the front.
Indeed, Drogon retires from the session. I'm not quite sure what's happened there.
He's binned it at turn 15 by the foot.
Ah, there we go. Easy place to do it. Very easy place to do it, turn 15. We saw a couple of people clatter over that curb earlier on, and yeah, if you do that too much or you brake a little too late and you get lose control of the car, you can be straight to the wall, or you can do what Aces has just done, too much curb into turn 1, and that is a slow drive of shame back onto the circuit for the British driver, who's not had the greatest start to the season, you have to say. Certainly not what he would have had in mind. He's not yet to set a lap today, but in terms of the overall standings in Tier 2, last season our Aces was right up there. He was one of the main contenders for the title going into the final race. He ended up coming 4th, but this season he's all the way down in 9th place in the standings with 34 points, so he needs a big result today.
Yeah, he's missed out last season on the penultimate lap. I'm wondering if that's just still in the back of his mind. Maybe the mentality issue is crept in a little bit. It's just we all know when things go against you, sometimes it does have like the mentality set in. He just needs to just shake that monkey off his back and just get his head down. He'll get a solid result. It still blows my mind that he's not a Tier 2 champion. I don't think he's ever won it, has he?
No, never won a driver's title in APPF1 full stop, which is crazy. It really is, because he's been... he finished 3rd in Tier 1 Season 2, and he's finished all the way up there. The early seasons of Tier 1, he was a big threat for the title every season. And then Elite as well, he's been driving in for quite a while. He's never won that. He was driving in sprints as well. He never won that either. And Tier 2 somehow it's just eluded him as well. So it's for such a veteran driver, I think he has well over 200 races in APPF1, probably over 250 or 300 even. The fact that he hasn't got a title despite driving at the level he has is pretty unlucky, I have to say. So we'll see one day whether he can break that duck, but at the moment it doesn't look like it's going to be this season.
No, it might just be a season of just trying to regain some confidence. I'm on board with Jacko at the moment. He's gone slightly faster in Sector 1. He's just coming through the castle section now.
JB has lost some front wing, saw it flying across the track at the exit of turn 1, just a little too deep, and that is lap over, and that's a long drive back to the pit lane with half a front wing, so that's going to be a frustrating one for JB. Robsu has improved, he's up to P7, he's split the Ferraris in the meantime, but we'll ride on board with Jacko because he has 5.5 tenths up through Sector 2. DRS left to deploy down the final straight here towards the line. Here we go, the VCARB driver. He loves this circuit. He's got such a brilliant record here at Baku, and he's coming all the way down to the line now using every last bit of ERS he's got. DRS open, and to the line goes Jackalacko. It's P3, but it's not far off the top two at all.
He's knocking on the door there. He's set a very competitive lap for his second run there. Can he improve and snatch pole on his final run in about 5 minutes' time? He'll be back out on track. It's a very strong performance. Sumo is looking like he's matching his current time. He's just about to come down the long straight.
Yeah, about half a tenth. Oh, invalidates. Yeah, exit at turn 16, a little bit wide. He was only just up on his previous best, so I don't think he'll be too unhappy. Ace, in the meantime, has gone up to P6. He's gone very deep into turn 3 for some reason on his in-lap, but he's reversing safely back onto the track. Enchiladadad on a lap as well, 3.5 tenths. Oh my goodness, his teammate in the wall at Castle. That would have been a big distraction. Thankfully he ghosted through him, but he's invalidated anyway at turn 13, and that is a big shame for Ench because he was looking very, very quick on that lap and could have been challenging for the front row. But yeah, I think possibly his teammate being crashed in Leclerc's favourite spot probably distracted him somewhat. Cavalis, the Lithuanian, goes to P6, and that is exactly the kind of confidence boost he needs at this stage of the season.
Yes, Cavalis is that's probably his best qualifying lap so far since he's joined the league. P6 is a very strong outing for him. He's going to find it. He's going to have a nosebleed if he goes any higher, in all honesty. It's good to see him up there.
Absolutely, yeah. He's one of the two newbies to the grid this season, along with Triku Bidayak. Triku getting P4 in Monza a couple of weeks ago. What a result that was for the Czech Republic man. But Cavalis hasn't had as flashy a race yet this season. He's been struggling so far since joining, but he's been enjoying the league, as has Triku. So that's good to see, despite the somewhat disappointing results that they've had, but particularly Cavalis. So I am really hoping he gets a result today, because his race last week in Abu Dhabi ended in 2 corners.
Yeah, unfortunately I didn't catch too much of last week's race at Abu Dhabi. I saw enough. I saw Sumo's downfall. I'm always watching Sumo. So, yes. I know you're watching this, Sumo, so I am watching at all times.
We can count on Lawrence to always be watching at least Sumo's downfall when he has a bad race, but he's currently in P7, which is not too bad, pretty much the halfway mark of the grid, but he'll be hoping for better than that, I think, in this quali session. A quick mention as well to Antone, who's on the second row right now. That was a bit of a stealthy lap. Neither of us noticed him do that. He's up to P4, and he's not far off at all, so very good pace from Antone in this quali session. He could be a threat in the race as well. He's a bit of a topsy-turvy driver as the Brazilian. Some weeks he's right up there, like today, and like Silverstone last season, for example. And then other days he's all the way down at the bottom of the midfield. So, yeah, I wonder if he can prove that Baku is a track that suits him today, as Robsu comes into the first sector. It looks like he's going to be the next to try and set a time.
Yes, Robsu is flying down the back straight at the moment. It's the second DRS, well, the first DRS point on the track. The second is down the main straight. We're about to see how he's doing in the first sector. It's just a little bit slidey on the setups. I've noticed Robsu's setups always seem a little bit, I don't know, that just always seems hard to control looking at the way he drives. It might be his driving style. Slightly up in sector 1. He's coming down to turn number 7, entering the castle section. This is a make or break point of the track. You can either gain a lot of time or lose a lot of time through here. It looks like he's taking that quite nicely. Very cautious up to the top of the castle section, mate.
Yeah, very cautious indeed. Sorry, go for it, Lawrence.
No, that's all right. He's flying round, coming up to the end of sector 2, hit the braking point just nicely on the curb there, keep it out the wall, which he has done, and he's about to go into sector 3, and he is currently second up.
Huge improvement for Robsu as he looks to get himself into the top 5 in this quali session here in the dying minutes. 2 minutes to go now. Tia says whoops in the chat. Whoops indeed. I mean, you should have really said I am stupid, noting the corner that you DNF'd in. But anyway, Robsu to the line, runs out of VRS again, but he did that on his last attempt, and he's up indeed into the top 5. Great effort from the man who's struggled in qualifying for a few seasons now. He's got to be careful he doesn't block this V-carb behind him. I think that's Aces, who is possibly on a lap. Is that Aces? Yeah, it is.
Yeah, Aces is on a lap. Yeah, I noticed he came out the pits a minute or so earlier than everybody else. He likes to come out of early. I don't know if it's just to have a clear track or I'm not sure, but he always seems to come out a couple of minutes earlier than everyone else for the last run.
Indeed, and Harris doesn't get the reference with I am stupid in the chat. A famous moment in Formula One history, Harris, when Charles Leclerc crashed at that very corner and uttered the famous words in the radio, I am stupid.
I said a lot worse than that when I crashed her.
I'm sure you did. Ace is coming through that very corner right now as he comes through the latter stage of sector 2, and the British driver, he needs a good quali here. He's quite far down. He's in P9 right now. We usually expect him to at least be in the top half of the grid. We're going to see where he is at the end of this sector, but he's not going to have a lot of time or ERS to go again. In fact, he's not actually improving. No, he's going to have to go again. There's 30 seconds to go. Is that enough time? Just about to get across the line, but he'll definitely only get one attempt, as everyone else out on their laps as well, their last runs. Where's Cavalis, actually? He's actually just behind Aces. It's going to be very, very close. 14, 13 seconds. Is he going to get across the line in time? It should be, but it'll be very, very close. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Oh, 1 second in it for Cavalis. Just about gets a lap in, so we'll see how he does later on. Robsu into the pits. JB has binned it.
Retired. He's had properly Leclerc it.
Yeah, the castle section once again and claims another victim, and this time it's the Ferrari of JB, who'll be desperately disappointed with how this qualifying has gone. There's plenty other people on laps. Meanwhile, Extrac 4/10 up in the middle sector, and the final sector's basically just one corner, so down to the line comes the defending champion. Could this be his first ever tier 2 pole position in APPF1? He comes to the line, it's looking very good, and it is a 39.1. Wow. That is going to take some beating for the defending champ. Sumo across the line to P5, good effort from him. Enchilada Dad goes onto the front row as there's more drivers coming across. Krauser, great quali session for him. P9 for now. Will he stay there? No. Triku Budayak beats him to P8 in the meantime. There's another V-carb. That's Jackalacco goes to P2. Beats out Enchilada by 200ths. Huge lap from Jacko. What can Jonathan do? Can he unseat Extract from pole position? To the line comes the Season 8 champion. It's not enough. He lost everything in the final sector, and he remains in P4. What about Aces versus Kings? Can he cause a shock? No, he's down and he's got half a front wing, and that is that for qualifying. Extarek gets his first ever APPF1 pole position, and at a track like Baku, that is one heck of a statement.
Yeah, what a time to set your first pole in APP at Baku. Extrac has laid down well on Sumo will be rolling his eyes at that. He is looks like he's earmarked Extrac as some sort of rival at the moment, the way he talks about him. Along
Suma
with
has a lot of
JB.
rivals.
Yeah,
Suma's like Coventry. He has a lot of rivals. Um, is just seems to be every week has a different driver he's got his eyes on. But you know, I don't think any of his current rivalries really hold a candle to his rivalry with you, Lawrence. I have to say.
no,
It's
a lot like Coventry. His rivalry isn't really relevant to anyone because he's never around his rivals.
Wow. Okay. Well, the Oxford United fan very confident that his side is not going to get relegated this season. So remember those words in 8 months' time, everyone. Um, but as we get ready to get back on the grids, for some reason the game didn't show me the final qualifying order, but oh well. We won't have formation laps, so we'll get straight into it. As soon as we see them lined up on the grid. But any predictions, Lawrence? Who do you think is going to win?
I could be boring and say Extrac. Not that that would be boring for Extrac. I'm sure he'd love the most boring race ever right now. Just trying to think out of the box here. Just to keep it spicy, I'm going to say Robson. If he wins, then hopefully he could reignite it.
Indeed. Well, Robsu to win the race, says Lawrence. We'll find out very shortly who's going to get the best getaway off the line, and the tyre choices as well are going to be interesting around Baku, so we'll see how things shake out. I did notice a few drivers only doing 2 laps in quali, so maybe they've saved a set of sauce, but here we go, 5 red lights. And we're underway for the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. It's a great start from Jack Alako, but really even better from Enchiladadad. Jacko down the inside and takes the lead into turn 1. Ench is on the inside of Extract down towards turn 2. Jack Alako stays in front, but Enchiladadad sends it. No, he backs out just before the corner. Good defensive driving from Extract there as his teammate Cavalis is drifting off to the side behind him. Antone now takes full advantage of Ench's poor line through turn 2 and goes around the outside, leaves just enough room. Brilliant racing from Antone to keep that position. He's up to P3 as we've got Sumo battling with Robsu further back. Meanwhile, I'm going to get details up on the screen. There we go. Most of the grid starting on the medium tyre. Robsu on hards, as well as his teammate Primeval, and Tia starting on the softs. Of course he is. Interestingly, Ace is somewhat unusually going for the standard strategy this time around, but maybe he'll go medium soft and do something wacky like that this race, or a 2-stop, who knows, with Aces. But big mistake from Krauser at turn 13, and Aces takes advantage. He's up to P9 now as he looks to fight his way through. Tier trying to find a way through as well, but he yields well before turn 15. Not interested in going for a move there as they all pile through. What a clean start in Baku from Tier 2, by the way.
Yeah, they've all done exceptionally well, and it was really good, tactical overtaking we've seen on the opening lap. There hasn't been many major losers. The only position drops, everyone's lost 1 place, but there are a few big winners. Antone has got 2 places. Cavalis did have 2 places, but Sumo has just taken 6 back off him. And he'll be looking desperately to stay in the DRS train here because it's very powerful.
Mistake from Jacko as Extract gets through and back into the lead of the race, but Jacko will have the DRS, but he's got to keep with the Mercedes driver all the way through the tricky, twisty sections of the circuit as there was a place being gained further back. Hello to Lifebout in the chat. In the meantime, 3-time Tier 1 champion and 2-time elite champion of APPF1. So good to see Lifebout in the chat for Tier 2, but it's Extract who leads from Jack Alako, and Extract's going to be looking to get out of the DRS and already gaining a ton of time. I think he's done a lot of practice for this circuit, Extract, because people were scared of his time trial time, that's for sure, before this race even started, and well, his first ever pole position, and now looking going to drop Jacko. Tears out of the race, though. That is a VSC, and that's going to help out Jacko because he'll should be comfortably able to keep the DRS now. But Tier bins it at the castle section by the looks of things. Oh, and Drogon hits the back of Prime Evil under the VSE, gets himself a 10-second penalty and wing damage. So, yeah, a bit of loss of concentration, I think, from the Haas driver. As Lifebelt says, he's betting that Extrek will bin it.
Yeah, it would definitely spice things up if Extrek bins it, but so far he has been bulletproof this season. He has stayed out of trouble. You do wonder if he's ridden the wave of uncertainty earlier on. Is he going to pull the gap out? And Jacko is a very wise old dog behind him though. He'll be watching the delta and pouncing at the right moment.
Indeed, Aces and Triku and, of course, Drogon all into the pits. Aces, interestingly, Drogon gets a 10-second penalty just to add to his woes for speeding in the pit lane. Aces going on to a set of the hards and repairing a wing as well. So Triku, I don't think he repaired his wing. I think he's just taking advantage of the VSC. But Aces has had a mishap on the opening lap here. Lifebelt says he has no idea about anyone's pace. Well, neither do we at the moment, as Prime Evil gets a drive-through penalty for speeding under the VSC, so that is not good for him, as the green flags are back out. That was Antone into the wall there at turn 6, and Enchilada going down the inside for turn 7. A brave move from the Sauber driver,
no.
and it's resulted in drama as Antone is forced into the wall, and I don't think he's going to be particularly happy with the Irishman for that one.
No, I'm afraid, I can say it, I think Enchilada Dad has to take the blame there. It kind of just overcooked his speed into the corner there and just pushed Antone into the wall. Antone will feel very, very aggrieved about that one. I would be.
Yeah, I think he will indeed. 8.5 tenths is the gap to Extrek for Jack Alako, so he's stayed just about in DRS range for now, although the detection point is still not arrived yet. It comes into frame now, so he does have the DRS, does the Scottish driver, but he's a long way back, so he's going to need to use some ERS. But Extrek's used some as well to try and get rid of the VCARB driver, but it hasn't worked, so Jacko's still there with him. Antone into the pits for a new front wing, as Krauser, Cavalis and JB all having a nice little battle with Robsu as well in front of them. The two Ferraris, especially Krauser, having a great race so far. I don't want to curse him, but yeah, he's had a bit of a torrid last couple of seasons, so he could really do with a positive result today.
It would be nice to see Krauser back. When I joined APP, he was at the front and fighting for titles, and I just don't think he gets the time these days to put in as much practice as he used to. Back in the day, it would be nice to see him have a really strong competitive race and hoover up some good points for Ferrari. Indeed,
yeah, I think you're exactly right. It's just a matter of having less time in life to practice, and it comes to us all eventually, that kind of predicament, is as league racers. But Extrek 6 tenths in front, so Jack Alako stayed with him for another lap and might even be in with a chance of overtaking him down towards turn 1. And it might be in Jacko's best interest, because Extrek, I think, definitely has the better raw pace here. But if Jacko can stay in the DRS, he can make the Norwegian's life quite difficult.
Yeah, Extrek will be having one eye on Jack at the moment, and Jack will try. Someone at the back.
That's Drogon.
Yeah. It looks like he's in the barrier at turn 7. Probably just lost the front wing. But if I was Jack, I would probably just be sitting in Extrek's DRS right now and just trying to force a few mistakes. Maybe try a few dummy moves. See if he can call his bluff. That's kind of the only way I can think to beat Extrek at the moment. Is just try and distract him enough so he falls into his own sword, really.
Yeah, absolutely. And if Jacko's going to make an overtake, he's going to want to do it here at turn 3, because then he can, where X-Trek is faster in the rest of the circuit, it's not going to matter because he's going to be behind the Scottish driver. So Jacko will have a chance to have a little bit of a breather instead of having to push constantly to stay in the Mercedes DRS. Jonathan, meanwhile, he lost a lot of time to the DRS, of course, down the main straight, but he's sniffing around. He's not too far behind here. 1.6 seconds is the Red Bull, the Season 8 champion. Recently back into APPF1, which is fantastic to see. And he's looking to get himself not only a podium here, but he could be on for the win today. 1.2 seconds now, 1.1. He's really pushing to get in that range. Jacko has stayed right close to X-Trek this lap, as well as Jonathan clatters across turn 15 with aplomb and is well in DRS range now. So it's the top 3 now, pulling away from the rest of the field. Sumo keeping Enchilada out at bay for P4 as well. So he's doing well as it stands, but we've got to focus on this top 3 because I think we might see an overtake here down to turn 1.
Yeah, Jack and Jonathan are both going to have DRS. Jonathan will probably just hang back a little bit. Jack's going for the move into the lead, and Jonathan sets the fastest lap in reply to that. And Jack will be. Oh, it's going to be hard. I wouldn't want X-Trek to pass me here because the DRS will help him get that extra bit of a gap, but I don't think it's going to matter too much. Jack's got good pace from what we've seen early on around here, and X-Trek just looks to be saving the ERS at the moment.
Yeah, he's just lifted off there down to turn 3, not interested in going for a dive into that corner on this occasion. And Jacko seems to be finding his pace as the laps tick over, because he was struggling the first few laps. He did very, very well to stay in the range of X-Trek, while the Mercedes man was fastest. But now he seems to be finding his feet as X-Trek lost quite a bit of time to him on the last lap. It is now 6/10. Is it going to go up
Jack.
through the... Oh no, Jacko! Big mistake from the Scottish driver. And once again, it's X-Trek who just seems to have an invisible force field around him. It's and Jonathan in the background as well into the wall. It's something that X-Trek has done. I think he's spoken to some kind of... mystical shaman who has put a curse on every other driver in Tier 2 this season. It's just astonishing. How does this keep happening, Lawrence? He is now in the lead by well over a second. Jacko and Jonathan both making mistakes in the same section of the track, and X-Trek now with a comfortable lead.
And look who's in P4 and has joined the party at the front.
Yep, Sumo Gilligan around the outside of Jonathan into turn 1. Jonathan holds the inside line, but Sumo sweeps around and up to second place. He would have been delighted to see those mistakes ahead of him, and he's now up into the top 2, but 1.8 seconds behind the championship leader, who is once again running away with another race at the moment where he... He's just the most consistent week in, week out, every single time, as the two Ferraris swap further back, and they're challenging the other Mercedes of Cavalis, who's doing a brilliant job for the team at the moment, as Mercedes look to extend their gap in the Constructors' Championship too. Cavalis in P6 ahead of both Ferraris, and quite a gap to Robsu, but he's not going to be too concerned about that. He's going to be more thinking about the Ferraris, because Robsu's on the hards, don't forget, so he is going to be quicker later on, although everyone's going to get a very nice juicy undercut on him.
Yeah, Robsu will be pushing really hard in the last stint here to try and claw back any advantage. The tyre advantage around here is quite strong, I think. It's just trying not to eat into the mediums too much.
Big mistake from JB at turn 15, nearly straight into the barrier, but he managed to hold it. Big oversteer moment. But anyway, sorry to interrupt, Lawrence. Go on.
That's all right. I was on board with JB as well. He's hunting down Cavalis here. Cavalis looks like he's saving his ERS, and JB will hopefully be looking to make the move, if not at this DRS straight into the most definitely going into turn 3, looking like it.
Yeah, here we go. JB sitting behind the Mercedes. Krause into the pits. The other Ferrari taking an early stop at this stage. Is it a new front wing? Oh, it is. That's why. No front right end play on Krause's car. It is going to be a new front wing, but he'll be reasonably confident given how this race has gone so far. He's going to exit the pits, I think, just behind this big kerfuffle for P10. It's now going to be P9. Anton, Triku, Aces. Oh, and big mistake from Aces through turn 1. Is that wing damage to the VCARB driver? It is, once again. No front right end plate, and Aces unfortunate season it seems like it's going on here in Baku. Anton pulls to the inside of the Aston Martin up ahead and looks like he's going to make that move into turn 3 and does. Triku not really willing to fight that one too hard at this stage, and in fact goes very deep into turn 4 as well, and is going to come under pressure from Aces, but no way through for the VCARB at this stage. Meanwhile, Xtrek's lead has come down a bit, Lawrence. 1.4 seconds. Sumo is on pace, and he's had 2 races in a row now where he's had the pace to win, but it's just not worked out for him. Last week was a complete disaster. Monza, he still got a podium, but he was disappointed. But today, could that all change? Xtrek had a 1.9 second lead. He looked fairly comfortable, but Sumo is coming into fray, and look at the ERS. Xtrek has used everything.
Yes, I'm wondering if Sumo's comments have just made Xtrek sweat a little bit. Sumo has been he's been throwing it about the last week or two with Xtrek. So yes, I'm wondering if he's got into Xtrek's head a little bit here, and Xtrek's seen him claw up to second place. But Sumo is bringing Jonathan along with him as well. I would say you probably need to bring someone else to the party with you here, because it's going to be a 2-man job to take down Xtrek.
Indeed, yeah, Sumo just about there, but you say that, and Sumo and Scott were a 2-man team in Monza, and they ended up sabotaging each other, really, and letting Xtrek win the race in the end. So, you know, it can be beneficial, but it can also backfire, and Xtrek's had a very good lap so far, actually, and has re-extended that gap to just over 2 seconds now. But yeah, they seem to be going a bit tit for tat at the moment. Enchilada Dad had to have a wing change as well, by the way, in the pit lane. So he's come out on fresh hards to the end of this race, as Jacko is 3 seconds in front of him. Don't forget about the Scotsman. He may have lost 5 seconds or so repairing that wing, but he's still in this fight, given the pace that he's had in that first stint, and he's only going to get faster as the race progresses.
You can never rule out Jack. It's not like myself. As the race goes on, you just find the grip, you find the pace, and it all works out very nicely. I've noticed Primeval's got a very how would I describe this? Yeah, it's a very indifferent front wing. Half of it's missing.
Oh dear.
Looks like he's tried having his own design on it. He's going to have to box for sure for that. I think he just lost the chunk through the cancel section.
Oh, it's a shame for Primeval, but Sumo, look at the gap, 0.9 now. He didn't have DRS on this lap. He was so close. Didn't quite get it. I think there may have been a mistake from Xtrek on that previous lap, which has allowed this gap to come down. Is there any damage on the Mercedes? No.
I think Xtrek is saving his ERS like mad here. His red light is flashing, and I think Sumo is just play the Jules music.
Yeah, absolutely. Xtrek, he had nothing left in the ERS department, and I think he realised that if he has nothing left when these two approach him, Sumo, big mistake through there. Huge error from Sumo, and again on the exit the next corner, and once again, it's just something about being with Xtrek that causes everyone to make mistakes. I do not know what it is. It's like he puts a spell on them to reduce their grip. It's crazy. It's absolutely insane to watch, and Sumo down the inside of Jonathan, he's just going to cost them both time here for turn 16. 1.7 now is the gap, and Xtrek looking more comfortable again, and he's been able to save his ERS up. Harris has got it absolutely right in the chat. The curse of Xtrek. It's just no one can fight near him without binning it themselves.
I'm wondering if Extra is playing Mario Kart and leaving bananas on the on the track. Every time someone gets near him, he's leaving a banana on the track, and Sumo just hit that banana.
Yeah, it really does seem that way, doesn't it? Someone needs to get a blue shell at this point to have any opportunity. But yeah, it's back up to 1.8 again as Sumo saving some ERS of his own. But yeah, it does seem pretty close still out there as Cavalis comes into the pits as well. And a new front wing for the Mercedes driver as well. A lot of front wings being exchanged so far today. As Krauser, oh, he disconnected earlier. I didn't even notice, but he's back in now. But that's a real shame for him because he was having a great race up until then. Cavalis exits the pits in P11 at the moment, and Jacko is meanwhile back into the top 5 as a result of all these pit stops, and he is still climbing. Robsu and everyone in front, the top 4, all yet to stop. So Jacko in a great position, although Enchiladad has slowly closed him down here.
Yeah, Enchiladad is drawing in Jakalaka here. I'm not sure if Jack's carrying any sort of front wing damage. Yeah, he's missing the front right end plate.
Oh no! Jonathan's hit Sumo! Jonathan rear ends Sumo into turn 15, and now the gap to Xtrek is up to 3 seconds, and it's just, once again, it's just, calamity seems to happen to anyone trying to challenge Xtrek for the lead. Any point on the circuit, it's just insane to watch. I don't understand what's happening. Xtrek not using any ERS, and he's into the pits, in fact. Sumo follows him in. What about Jonathan? Yeah, they're all in at the same time. And Jonathan looks to try and do a well and does successfully overtake Sumo in the pit lane. Brilliant move from Jonathan. And Sumo is going to come into the pits. Who's going to come out in front here as they exit the pit lane? It's going to be Jonathan, and Sumo's going to be livid about that, but there's nothing he can do. But where's Jacko? He's coming down towards turn 1 now. How far behind is the Scotsman going to be? Sumo and Jonathan exit the pit lane. Here comes Jacko in the background there, coming through turn 1, and the gap is going to be around 3.5, perhaps 3.9 actually. It stayed static through turn 2, so about 4 seconds that Jacko's got to make up, and he's got to look behind him as well, because here comes Enchiladad down the inside for the Sauber driver. Tia was saying sorry to his teammate in the chat for crashing, but Ench is trying to make up for it for the team by getting himself into the top 5 and past the Baku master.
Jack's in a bit of a hard position here. He's missing his front right end plate here, and
oh, is he?
He's on the hard tyres. Yeah, Jack's in a real tough position now.
Oh, that's a real shame for Jacko. He was perhaps pushing a little too hard and more damage to the Scottish driver's car, and he's going to need a safety car now to get himself back into this, you have to think. Jonathan, 2 seconds behind Extrek, both of them with pretty much full batteries, so there's no real ERS advantage either way, and Extrek just sitting comfortably at the moment. He doesn't need to push particularly hard anymore, but he still needs to be wary of that gap because it can come down quicker than you think. And here's the main man, Robsu, now from the lead of the race, comes into the pits for the medium tyres it will be until the end. We've seen how bad those mediums were towards the end of that first stint after 12 laps or so. He's going to be on those for 13 or 14 laps. So it's going to be a struggle for him, but look where he's coming out here. He's right behind Jonathan, and brilliant position for Robsu here. He's on brilliant tyres. He's only 1.1 behind Jonathan in P3, and then it's another 2.5 to Extrek. Robsu could be a dark horse for this race victory.
Yeah, I said in the qualifying, you cannot rule out Robsu. He is always in the right position at the right time. We talk about Extrek, just having that racecraft about him to stay out of trouble, but Robsu this season he's rejuvenated, he has come back, and he means business. Now we need Sumo and Jonathan to sort themselves out in this little squabble and just find some sort of understanding to try and claw back this 2.5 seconds to Extract. They're both capable of doing it, but it just seems to be that they're squabbling over who's going to be second and be the first to do it. But I can't believe I'm going to say this, but from what we've seen early on in the race, we need Sumo in second to claw back this gap.
Well, that's words you'll never hear again from Lawrence in the commentary box. But it is, I think he's absolutely right. Sumo has got the best raw pace out of all of these top four so far this race, but now higher advantage, and if he can eke out that gap, then Robsu could be a proper threat to Extract here, but he needs to clear these two drivers first, and that is easier said than done, being at the back of a 3-car DRS train. Jackalacco is still fighting with Enchiladadad, so he's doing well to even be there in the battle for P5, considering his wing damage, as Jonathan gets back past Sumo for P2. 1.6 now is the gap to Extract. It is coming down. Enchiladadad down the inside of the Baku King, and he's up to P5 now. But I think these two are going to keep swapping positions, because if Jacko didn't have wing damage, I'm sure he'd be right up there, given his pace, fighting with Enchiladadad, even with the wing damage at the moment.
Yeah, Jackalacco would be absolutely gutted about that front wing damage. It has potentially cost them the race win here, I'd say. Just going back a few moments ago when Jonathan overtook Sumo, that's what they need to be doing, is working together. The DRS is very powerful around here because the straights are so long. Teamwork makes the dream work. They might not be racing for the same manufacturer team, but if they want any chance of a win, they both need to work together here.
Yeah, they really do, but Robsu has no interest in working with them because he wants to get past. He knows he's got the better tyres. He was right behind Sumo all through the slow section of track, so he knows he's got the pace on these medium tyres, but he's got to make the most of them as well, because they are going to deteriorate towards the end of this race. We already saw that in the first stint from those who started on the mediums, as Robsu clatters across the curve for turn 16, and down the long straight they go all the way to turn 1, but the gap once again, it's coming down to Extrek. It's under 1.5 seconds now, and the championship leader may not be so safe, but we've seen already the invisible force field. Will it come into play again? As Sumo's got the DRS, he is charging after the Red Bull of Jonathan. He looks to the outside line, and oh, this is a bit of a messy overtake considering that they need to challenge Extrek. Sumo gets his way through, but they've lost time to the race leader, and Robsu tries to find a way through as well, but can't quite do it. Can he get the best exit? He used overtake a little too early, I think, there, and got squirrely on the rear tyres. Down to turn 3 they go. There's nothing Robsu can do, or is there? Sends it to the inside of Sumo at turn 3. Sumo leaves him just enough room. This is costing them all time, but Robsu knows he needs to make the most of these yellow walled mediums sooner rather than later, and he's just not able to find a way through. Sumo and Jonathan know they need to keep him behind as well if they want to win the race, but they've all got to just collectively think about Extrac here, because that gap is increasing every time they battle.
I was having heart palpitations watching him obviously going to turn 3 there. Horrible flashbacks.
Oh dear. The name Mr. J-Man, I don't know how much that means to anyone watching in the chat, but haunts Lawrence's dreams at this circuit, I'm sure. Robsu clatters again over the curb at turn 15. He really does like that curb at that particular corner. Jacko now has lost touch with Enchiladadad, and he could fall into the clutches of the Ferrari of JB if he's not careful as well, with that awful wing damage he's got.
Sumo's got brilliant drive here.
Mistake again. Here comes Sumo now down to turn 1. Should be able to comfortably make this move, but Robsu's going to look to follow him through, and Robsu looks to the outside of both of them, and Robsu takes P2. What a move from the Finnish driver. He had to burn a lot of ERS to do it, but he has done it. Is he going to be vulnerable to turn 3 now? That's the question. How much ERS has Extract got? He's got good enough battery power there on the steering wheel as Robsu hurtles down towards turn 3. Can he stay ahead of Sumo? Sumo's using everything he's got in the battery to stay ahead of Jonathan, but he's not able to catch up to the Williams, and this is Robsu's chance. He needs to gain time now in this slow section of the track on those superior tyres. Sumo trying to defend from the Red Bull of Jonathan, the Season 8 Tier 2 champion. right on the back of this McLaren, but not able to find a way through, and is wide, very wide through turn 6, which is not going to help his cause. But Robsu now 1.2 ahead of them, 1.3. Their gap is growing, and Robsu now is the biggest threat to X-Trek for this race win.
Oh, Jonathan, how did he not DNF there?
Oh my goodness.
He clattered into the castle section stupidly hard. How his front right tyre stayed on there, I do not know. He is
wow.
Definitely used one of his 9 lives if he is a cat.
Well, Jonathan being a cat, the jury's out on that, but he is still in the race, thankfully for him. But Sumo will not be happy to see he's still in the race. Jonathan very deep at turn 16. Maybe there's some superficial damage to that Red Bull, who knows, and it could invite Enchiladadad into this battle. Jacko is definitely losing time to JB, so there's a race to be had there for P6 as well. But the gaps have all extended outwards now. No one within a second of any other driver, but that could be just about to change as Robsu now within 8/10 of our race leader, Exterek, who's just got to keep with him and keep the ERS, because if Robsu gets out of DRS range, then Exterek will have to wait until the end of the race, I think, to get himself back in it. Of course, on most circuits on this game, if you're in P2 on the final lap, you're usually in the best position, but especially at Baku, you do not really want to be P1 going on to the final straight, because if someone's right behind you, because they will just be able to overtake you. They can burn everything they've got, and they'll get you well before the line usually. So we'll see if that happens today. But Robsu now right behind the race leader and the top 2 in the Drivers' Championship, the top 2 in this race now as well.
We're in for a brilliant showdown here on the streets of Baku. Robsu is just under half a second behind Exterek. He's hounding him through the castle section. He's going to hound him down the back straight as well. I'm quite sure we're going to see a new race leader by the end of the pit straight.
What an absolutely wonderful first stint from Robsu, you have to say. I cannot believe he came out so close to them on his pit exit. It was just, I expected him to be well over 5 seconds down, and he was right behind them. I have no idea how he managed it, but here he is now, half a second behind Extrek. There's yellow flags further back. That is the Red Bull of Antone facing the wrong way at turn 16, but we've got to cut back to the front, because here comes Robsu. We've got to change for the race lead. Robsu leads the race for the second time. Remember, he led it because he extended his first stint as well, but now leading in a net race lead as well. 3/10 ahead of Extrek, and there's probably not going to be a reply from the Mercedes down to turn 3, I would imagine. Neither of them particularly healthy in the ERS department. Huge chance for Robsu here.
Yeah, Robsu's got to make this count now with the tyres, try and eke out the gap and not drag Extrek along with him. Sumo is not too far behind. He's coming back into this. He's only 1.7 behind Extrek. Sumo will be relishing the opportunity now to close the gap, and he is slowly clawing it back. He's still within the chance. Cannot rule him out. And Jonathan is just he's just dropped down a little bit now ever since that little incident at the castle section.
Indeed, and how ironic would it be if Extrek, in his first pole position after 14 races in APPF1 and being the defending champion, ends in him not winning the race? That would be quite remarkable. But, you know, we can't count our chickens yet. Plenty of time to go in this race. 8.5 laps still remaining, and Sumo is nearly within range now of those top 2. He could get a 3-way fight for the race win here in Baku. But Sumo 1.0, 1.06, it's going to be so close. 1.08, but Extrek's burning everything he's got to keep the McLaren behind. That's great awareness from Extrek to realise that Sumo was close by behind, and he's managed to get him out of DRS range. But Extrek is not going to have enough to pass Robsu into turn 1 here, and that is surely going to invite Sumo into DRS down to turn 3. But Primeval retires in castle section, and it's a virtual safety car. How on earth is that not a full safety car? I will never know. Look at this. Oh, actually, no, that's fair enough. That's fair enough, having looked at where his car ended up. Because I thought he was right in the middle of the castle section, but no, he was well off the circuit. So actually, you know what? F124 virtual stewards, fair enough. Yeah, that's an okay decision for me.
Just like me praising Sumo. Ghost praising EA. What's going on?
It doesn't happen very often, so take what you can, EA, is what I'll say. Not that they care.
The one person who will be pig sick about the timing of that VSC will be Jack. He was just past the pit lane entrance when that came out.
Yeah. Well, I don't think he was really going to pit anyway. He would have come out behind Cavalis, but then he would have been well behind JB. He probably would have scored the same number of points because he would have had fastest lap anyway. But then again, Aces and Antone have also come in for fresh soft, so they might get fastest lap instead. DRS back enabled as we're under green flags, but it's been a terrible VSC restart for Sumo as he's lost about 4 tenths to the top two. Gains some of it back in turn 15, but it's not enough, 1.2, and he's going to have to hope for another burst of DRS or another battle ahead of him as Robsu and Extract hurtle down towards turn 1 for the 20th time in this race. Sumo 1.08, again agonizingly close to DRS range, but not quite, as Extrek, he's not close enough again to the Williams to make a move, and in fact Robsu is well clear on the ERS department. Extrek saved back quite a lot under the VSC, but he's already burned nearly all of it, and Robsu in a great position here, but remember those tyres are going to get very, very poor towards the last few laps, so it is far from over.
I'd imagine in the next 3 laps or so, Robsu's tyres will be starting to cry out. But if he's in the lead, this will bring Sumo back into it. I've noticed that Extract and Sumo are playing the same game with the ERS management. They just deploy it at the bottom of the straight, and that is why Sumo cannot capitalise on the gap at the moment. Sumo perhaps needs to think about deploying it elsewhere.
He needs a strong, slow section of the track. He needs a strong castle section right here, Sumo, and the last 2 corners as well. But 1.1, 1.2, can he get strong? Yeah, he can actually. Gains a couple of tenths through there as Extract just got to take it a little easy because he's got a car in front of him. It is so, so close, but Extract, like you say, playing the same game with the ERS. He knows Sumo's close behind. He doesn't want to bring him into this battle, but that might be about to happen. Aces retires in the pit lane. Yeah, so another non-finish for Aces versus Kings, the man who was 2 laps away from winning the title last season. What a downfall it's been this season around for Aces. I hope he can have a better second half to season 13 of Tier 2, but Sumo is in DRS range now, and it's the top 3 battling it out for the race victory here in Baku. Robsu is the man who leads the race with Extrek behind. Robsu's got plenty of ERS. Sumo sets the fastest lap. Now that's intimidating to the top 2 to see that flash up on screen. Has a little moment through turn 1, but he's still going to have the DRS down to turn 3, which is the crucial thing. Or is he? It was actually quite close there. Robsu with a mistake, and Sumo actually doesn't get the DRS. That mistake through turn 1 cost him, and Extrek looks to the inside but chooses not to send it into turn 3. And Sumo's got to be careful here. Yeah, every time he gets within range, he just starts making mistakes. It's possibly nerves, the pressure, but it could also be a combination of that with dirty air as well affecting him.
Yeah, Sumo just needs to he just needs to back up his words here. He's there, he can do it, he's capable of doing it, we can see that. He really has progressed this season, it must be said. It's just leaps and bounds since the end of, he was strong towards the end of last season, but this year he's come back a different animal.
Yeah, he certainly has. Antone sets the fastest lap on those soft tyres at the back meanwhile, but Robsu, Extrek and Sumo continue to duke it out. Sumo now well within range, so he should be fine this time around, even if he does again get a little bit of oversteer through turn 1. And here we go, down the main straight we go for the 21st time in this race, and it's going to be the 22nd turn 1. now, using everything he's got in the ERS. Robsu, I think, is just going to let him through this time, but he's going to come under pressure from Sumo as well in the McLaren. Doesn't look to make it 3 wide. Robsu's still on the outside of Extract, though. That is incredible straight line speed from the Williams, and Extract could find this very difficult here because Robsu didn't use a lot of ERS there. And you were talking earlier, Lawrence, about Robsu having a bit of an oversteery, hard to control setup at this circuit. That could be why he's just poured everything into straight line speed, and it's paying dividends right now.
Yeah, Robsu has always been a fan of low wing setups, I've noticed. He's always seems to be rapid on the straights. Yes, he is not going to make this easy for Extract, and Sumo will probably be delighted to see Robsu in the lead at the moment. It gives him every chance to finish ahead of Extract.
I will say, stop the count, because if or Sumo nearly into the back of Extract through turn 7 loses a lot of time, he still should be fine, but he's got to just keep his head here in this battle. But yeah, stop the count, because if it ends like this, I get 6 points in the prediction championship. Oh no, Enchilada! Just as I say it, he bins it in the castle section. Where has his car ended up? Oh, it's exactly where Primeval's car ended up, and it's a disastrous double DNF for the Saubers. And their championship challenge has taken a major blow with that error from Enchiladadad. He was under no pressure at all as well, and that just shows you how easily that can happen. Lawrence himself knows how easily that can happen even when you're under no pressure whatsoever with anyone near you. But Enchilada, he is going to be so disappointed with that, because he was on for a comfortable top 5 placement today as green flags once again out on circuit. No safety car this whole race. It's just been VSCs, 3 of them, but it's all been about the pure pace of those drivers. No safety cars to bring everyone together. Sumo, big mistake out of turn 2, loses a lot of time again, but uses the ERS to get himself closer again. Harris is devastated in the chat. Their favourite in this race has binned it. But Palang says Sumo's now a consistent front runner, but he hopes nothing bad happens to him. If that's not a curse, I don't know what is.
Yeah, put that voodoo doll away.
But it is still Robsu who leads from Extract, who's finding it very difficult to contend with the Finnish driver's straight line speed. And Sumo's finding it difficult. He's in the same position Robsu was in about 10 laps ago, where he was the 3rd placed man in a DRS train that was 3 long, and he had to make a beautiful double overtake to get himself past both of them and into the position he wanted to be. But yeah, Sumo could find that trickier, and a mistake again into turn 15 from the McLaren driver. Is there damage to that car? Nothing visible, but there could be superficial damage, and again loses more time. He just doesn't have the consistency of these top 2 so far this race, Sumo, and he's going to need, I think, a bit of an intervention for him to have a chance at winning this the way things are going.
Look at that!
I can't believe that. Extract was pulling to the inside with the DRS, but he couldn't make it work. But now Robsu runs out of ERS, and finally Extract finds his way through. Robsu tries to send it down the inside for turn 1, but he can't quite do it. This has brought Sumo into the fight, but he can't send it for turn 2. And now Robsu is down to P2 once more. Extract into the lead, but this battle is going to rage on. Robsu, he needs to get past here, but he's not going to be able to. He's too far behind, and this could be dangerous for the Williams driver, because his tyres are going to be falling off a cliff now, and he's going to struggle to stay with the Mercedes in the slow section of track, you would think.
Yeah, we're going to get a very good idea of how much life is left in these medium tyres over the next couple of corners. He's hanging on in there at the moment. Not lost as much time as I thought he would, so he just needs a strong castle section, and he will be on the tail of Extract again.
Yeah, it's these next few corners where I really see the difference. Through he goes here, especially because this is the least amount of grip on the whole circuit in this corner. Sumo nearly into the back of Robsu by the sounds of it, but he manages to not ruin it for both of them as they come through down to turn 15. Sumo, be careful, Sumo! Oh, nearly into the back of him again, but just about stays behind. And this is going to be an absolutely crazy battle for this race win in these last couple of laps now. We're on to lap 25 of 26 at the end of this one, and Xtrek is the man who leaves, but Robsu has been right there with him all stint long after he got past Sumo and Jonathan. But Sumo is the dark horse. He's there if anything goes wrong, or if he finds an opportunity, he will take it. Here comes Robsu. Look at that outrageous straight line speed from the Williams driver. He's back up into the lead. Xtrek a little bit of a bump behind from the Mercedes driver, but Robsu survives, as does Xtrek. I don't think any damage either way as Robsu, big slide out of turn 2. Here comes Xtrek. He uses the slipstream. He's got the DRS. He looks to the outside, uses some ERS as well. Here comes Sumo, looks to the outside. Oh, he backs out. He has to yield. There's no way through for Sumo at this stage, but we're coming on to this penultimate lap now. Robsu has to stay behind this Mercedes for one more lap, and he's going to get a brilliant opportunity on the final lap. But who's going to be in front down on the main straight for the final time? That's the big question. And how far ahead are they going to be? Can they sustain the pressure? If it's Xtrek, you have to think he's going to be in trouble. But if it's Robsu, then Xtrek probably has a chance. So does Xtrek take a decision here, maybe, to let Robsu by so that he's behind down towards turn 1? As here comes Sumo on the inside of turn 15, he sends it to the inside. And he's ruined it for both of them, it seems. Robsu, I think he's got front wing damage now. Yeah, no, oh no, actually he still does have an end plate, but he doesn't have the DRS, and Sumo might have just won this race for Robsu. What on earth is he doing, Lawrence? Not for Robsu, for Xtrek.
Yeah, I was just getting a bit too, I don't know, a bit too feisty behind that, behind Robsu here. Maybe he just saw Xtrek getting away. Maybe Xtrek's in Sumo's head. I can't call this. I cannot call this rivalry.
Look at this straight line speed from Robsu, though. He's back in the mix, but he's going to struggle on these tyres now in this final lap. You would think he would have wanted to be ahead of Xtrek at this stage of the race. He's going to have the DRS to turn 3, but Xtrek, none of them have really got much ERS to play with. Here comes Robsu. He looks to the inside. But he's not close enough. He is still just about there, but he can't quite make a move. And he's going to have to do it on the main straight at the end of this race. Sumo's there as well. Who is going to win this Baku Grand Prix? Who can call a winner here, Lawrence?
It's going to be Robsu, surely. I predicted Robsu before the race. I'm sticking to my guns.
Well, here they go, down to turn 7. Robsu, a bit of a slide on the exit, but he's still within touching distance of the race leader. Sumo is there as well. Sumo looking to the inside through Castle section. Robsu losing a ton of time on the exit there as his tyres run out of grip. And Xtrek is in prime position to win yet another Grand Prix in Tier 2. But Robsu's there. He needs a brilliant last couple of corners. He gets a very good turn 15. And what about turn 16? He's got enough ERS saved up, and Xtrek's got plenty more in the tank as they come down towards the line for the final time. Sumo's behind the Williams, but can he contend with Robsu's straight line speed? You can't think he can, but Robsu's run out of ERS. Here comes Sumo on the inside. Xtrek surely going to win this Grand Prix, but it's going to be Sumo in P2. Xtrek goes to the line, withstands the pressure once again. Xtrek wins the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Sumo gets P2. Robsu, after all of that, is going to have to settle for P3, but you have to think surely Sumo sending it at turn 15 on lap 25 is what lost him this race. Jonathan finishes in 4th place. Drogon sets the fastest lap and finishes 11th, a lap down. Jack Alako secures a top 5 finish with half a front wing. Great drive from him, but he'll be gutted about that wing damage. JB and Krauser secure a very respectable P6 and 7 for Ferrari. Krauser will be particularly happy with that, I think. Cavallis in P8 for Mercedes as well. Good result for the Merc duo once again, especially with a double DNF for Sauber. It's going to be a huge lead in the constructors for Mercedes. Triku Bediak heads down to the line as well in his Aston Martin. He's going to finish in 9th, and Antone is going to be disappointed with how this race unfolded. He was right up there for raw pace, but in the end, some mistakes have caused him to finish in 10th.
What an incredible battle for the podium. That is the first time we've ever seen anything like that in Tier 2 for a long time. A three-way shootout. X-Direct came out on top once again. That invisible force field once again has worked out for him. Sumo probably just getting a bit too, I don't know, a bit too forward on the penultimate lap, trying to get past Rob Sue. Should have probably just waited, and it would probably come to them both. They both have the pace and ERS to try and probably mug X-Direct on the last DRS straight going towards the finish line possibly.
Indeed. Well, we'll get a summary from X-Trek, and we'll be able to talk to Robsu and Sumo. It could be a little frosty after that lap 25 incident, but we shall see. As the champagne is out, and it's X-Trek. Once again, he's not the fastest driver in the race today. He didn't have the best raw pace, but it just bats off all challenges and wins again for the 4th time in 5 races. He is unstoppable this season, and he looks to be flying to a 2nd consecutive time. Then it's Jonathan, Jacko, JB, Krauser, Cavallis, Triku, Antone and Drogon, the rest of the finishers. Drogon setting the fastest lap, a bit of a consolation with Enchiladad and Tier, both Sauber's double DNF, as well as Aces and Primeval not finishing the race. What a Grand Prix that was. Absolutely brilliant. And I'm just going to ping Robsu to prompt him to join the interview room.
No surprise to see Sumo's already jumped in the interview room.
He has indeed. So we'll talk to him in just a second. X-Trek says, that was a really good race. My first pole position, but I had a very poor start. Still, I managed to pull away afterwards. In the 2nd sector, I was charging the battery to use it on the long start-finish straight. Robsu was a big rival for me since he had better tyres and a lot of straight-line speed. He didn't say that, but but I managed to win once again, he says. And yeah, you can't argue with that. He just somehow, from all of this that keeps happening all around him, he gets challenged week after week after week. He's not running away with any of these races, but every time he crosses the line first. In fact, that has happened every time this season. It's Monza he only lost because of a steward's penalty at the end, but he's crossed the line in first place in all 5 races so far this season. Absolutely astonishing performance from X-Trek in season 13 of Tier 2. But we're going to talk to the other 2 drivers on the podium, and I'll hand over to Lawrence to interview our 2nd placed finisher.
Right, yeah, who did finish 2nd? Sergio Gilligan. Here he is.
I'm not sure Sergio Gilligan, well, Sergio Perez at least would be able to finish that high up in a race. He'd have a nosebleed, I reckon.
Yeah. Right, so talk us through your race. I mean, it was quite eventful right from the commentary box. First of all, it looked like you had a ding-dong with Jonathan, and then you was stuck behind X-Trek and Robsu, and just unfortunately the race win evaded you. Yeah, how was it out there?
Yeah, well, I had a job to do from qualifying. I couldn't get any more pace out of it. I swear the ERS is bugged at this track, because it just, the minute I get to the last sector, I've got nothing left. But I managed to try and just keep it calm, pick my way through. There's some battles and such. I was planning to undercut actually, and then I forgot to pit, so I stayed out and pitted alongside Jonathan and that. Jonathan nearly took me out at one point as he tapped my rear. And I was catching Extrac as well. And I think if it hadn't been for Robsu being there, then I probably would have got him. I had a lot of straight line speed in my car. And yeah, I got a bit desperate on the last few laps. I made a promise. I intended to keep it. I did everything I could to try and chase after that win, but I'll take P2.
Yeah, you did promise us a race win, and you haven't fulfilled that promise. So I will remember that.
I never said where. To clarify,
That's true.
I never said where or when.
Yeah, well, we're waiting another week then. Clearly, but no, it was superb race pace by you, Sumo. I think I did touch upon it. When you was in second place at one point, you was by far the fastest of everyone else, really, and you clawed back the gap to Extract. But it just seemed like once you got into, within that sort of second gap of Extract, you know, maybe just too much throttle coming out of one of the corners, maybe just missing the apex, and then you just lose any advantage you gained. Was that just a case of pushing, or would you say Extract is living rent-free in your head?
Yeah, I was pushing. I think it's every time I've raced at Baku, I've always been quite good through castle section. I try and be as brave as possible, and that's where I normally gain a lot of my time. But yeah, I think when I did get in within a second of Extract during at the end of that first stint, the tyres just weren't there, and I just couldn't get the grip that I wanted, so I did lose it a little bit, but I managed to keep it on track, keep it out of the wall, which was I was quite glad with. I've got to give a mention to Alex. Even though he wasn't here this weekend, he did put a lot of work in to produce a setup that I really clicked with, so thank you, Alex.
That's very kind of Alex to help you do that, and yeah, it was great to see you up there fighting. I'm sure it's only going to be a matter of time before you will convert this race pace into a race win, and then I will go into hiding.
Words I never thought I'd hear out of your mouth.
This
is on stream. This is going to be clipped.
I know it's on stream. I will praise you. I said you're a different animal all of a sudden this season. This is you carry this on for the next season or two. You are going to be a proper, serious threat in Tier 2 for a title.
As long as I don't get any wet races, then I'm happy.
Yeah, well, I'm sure the rain will stay away as much as it can. Yeah, so congratulations on P2. That was a nicely driven race, and I will pass us on to Ghost to interview Robsu, who finished P3.
Yeah, thanks, fun drive. Well done, everyone else.
Indeed, what a drive, Robsu. You must have conflicting emotions at the moment. Happiness to be on the podium, but that win seemed tantalizingly close, as it seems like something you've dropped was tantalizingly close as well.
Yeah, for a moment there I thought I had it, but no, of course not. Almost.
Yeah, your pace was phenomenal today. Even in qualifying, you're all the way up there. Were you expecting to be so fast today in Baku, or did the stars just align today?
I think both. I knew I have some straight line speed, but I think that I could have been better position in qualifying, so I think there's definitely left some time on the table, but it is what it is.
Yeah, and just on that straight line speed, X-Trek was really struggling to overtake you for a vast majority of that second stint, and you just weren't using ERS. I kept flicking over to you, expecting you to be deploying ERS all the way down to turn one, and you just had the same amount you did at the start of the straight, and X-Trek was burning everything to try and get past. So you definitely went for the low wing setup this time. It seemed to serve you well, but yeah, that just didn't work out at the end.
Yeah, well, before qualifying, I was, deciding between a bit more high aero or just low, and I don't know. I think this was just better option for me this time actually, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree it was the better option because you stayed with everyone through the slow corners, and then an absolute rocket ship on the straights. Yeah, just talk about lap 25 though, to particularly turn 15 at the end when you had a flying sumo clatter you on the inside. Did you know it was all over at that point because you had to burn ERS to get back on touch with X-Trek, or was it just do you think you would have lost the race regardless of that?
I'm not sure. I really don't know that. Maybe P2 would have been the best today, but I don't know. I mean, it's kind of hard to say because, well, like I said, for a moment there, I thought I had the win, but then it just went away. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe P2 was the best. Well, it should have been best, but I don't know.
Well, you always seem to run well at Baku. Would you say it's one of your better tracks?
Oh yeah, definitely,
Oh,
yeah.
And how do you feel about the rest of the calendar? Obviously, I'm sure you're probably feeling like X-Trek is a step too far in the championship, but are you still having distant, ever more distant dreams of the title, or are you thinking that it's time to prioritize finishing second place this season?
Well, I think just the P2. Well, I mean, of course, I hope for the championship, but I don't know. I think it's just too far away, and Extoric is so fast and consistent every time, so he's just so hard to beat.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's another 6 points gained for the championship leader. He now has a 32-point lead over Robsu at the halfway point of this championship, but it can all change at any stage. We've got Kota next week, which is quite a tricky track for some and a brilliant track for others. I'm sure Sumo's looking forward to it. And then Miami, where anything can go wrong. Austria sprint round, that could be chaos as well. Australia, things can go wrong there. And then China finale, of course. So, there's X-Trek very, very comfortable. He can afford to DNF and for Robsu to win, and he'd still have a 12-point lead. But if that does happen, then it might knock his momentum, because at the moment it's all with X-Trek, isn't it, Lawrence?
Yeah, X-Trek is inevitable. It's just looks unstoppable at the moment. We pointed out several times he's just in the right place, right time. He avoids any incidents, and when people do pull up close behind him, we've seen today, there just seems to be a bit of a squabble. We see it with Jonathan and Sumo. They just look like it was a bit of who was going to be the one to go forth and challenge him, and they lost time through that. It was Sumo and Rob's two at the end as well. Perhaps just a lap too early with Sumo's move there, and probably cost them both the potential race win. It's going to be It's going to be interesting. You know, the calendar coming up as well. We've got Kota next week, and then on to Miami. Two very different tracks in themselves. Anything can happen. We know Sumo is ferociously fast at Kota, and Miami can always spring up a surprise with a very tricky sector one. Anything is possible at the moment. It only takes one DNF, and then for X-Track, and then that doubt creeps into the back of his mind, and then all of a sudden trying to think how big the gap is at the moment at the front. It's about 30 odd points now, so
32,
yeah, 32. So in fact, 32 points can dwindle down to, it could go to 6 with a DNF and the Robsu win, so anything can happen.
Well, thank you, Robsu, by the way, for the interview comments. Very much appreciated, as always. And good luck for the rest of the season. Any other tracks that jump out for you as potential favourites, or is it was Baku the one that you really wanted to win in particular?
Well, I do like Kota, but I mean, well, yeah, Baku was the one I was really looking forward to. So I don't know. I mean, yeah, Kota and Austria maybe, but I mean, then it's Miami and China is just all my homies hate China. I hate China. I'm so bad there.
Oh dear. Well, well, we'll see how it goes. It's fantastic to see you back on pace, by the way, Robsu, after the season you had last time out. So yeah, keep it up. It's great to see you back up at the front again.
Thank you. I've been surprised by myself also, but also I'm really glad to find this pace again. I'm not sure where, but I'm not complaining.
I'm sure you're not. Well, congratulations, Robsu, and
thank you.
Maybe we'll speak to you next week as well.
Hope so.
Well, Lawrence, what a race that was. One of the best of the season, I think, personally. And so clean as well. There's a long history of Tier 2 having complete disasters at Baku. The race we were referring to earlier where you crashed in the castle section, I think only 5 drivers finished out of 12 who started or something like that. But today we had a few DNFs, sure, but they were all pretty much, one was in the pit lane and the rest were just self-inflicted bins, mostly at the castle section. But there were no real incidents that I saw. I don't know about you, but brilliant clean driving from Tier 2 today.
Yeah, that was considering how confined the streets of Baku are. That was one of the cleanest races we've seen in a long time. It wouldn't have been like that if I was racing. I'm quite sure they wiped out half the field. But no, they can all hold their heads up high and be proud. That was quite a good statement on there that clean racing is possible, especially around the tight streets of Baku. Keep it up next week.
Indeed. Well, there's one thing left to determine, Lawrence. Driver of the day, what do you reckon?
Oh. This is going to be a tough one today. It's going to be very tough because it's either one of the podium lot for me. Yeah. Unfortunately, everyone fourth downwards was just slightly out of reach.
Yeah. It's so tough, isn't it? It's between those top 3.
It is tough. If you ask me to choose one, I would probably I'll point out Sumo today, just purely his race pace. It just gave us hope that there was a race to be had here as well. Yeah, I will give it to Sumo, but just by the narrowest of margins. Otherwise, it goes to extra.
Oh, there we go. Sumo driver of the day. For me, it's all 3 of them are pretty equal. I think for me, Robsu would just about edge driver of the day if it was me deciding. But I've sort of gravitated towards giving the decision to you, Lawrence, for this season as your reward for joining me in the commentary box. So yeah, Sumo Gilligan, driver of the day. But thank you all so much for watching, and thank you, Lawrence, for joining me in the box once again. We'll be back next week for more APPF1. It will be COTA, the Circuit of the Americas in Austin, Texas, and I'm very much looking forward to it. I hope you are too. So thank you all very much, and we'll see you next time for more APPF1. Goodbye.